That's very true. I remember, when I moved here, there was no deacons, young deacons. I think I was like 11 years old. So it's like a miracle to have like young people serve as well. And for us, going to church at 4 and 5:30 was, you're the greatest person in the world. But now you see all these young people, 12 a.m., 1 a.m. going to Mahalit. Times has really changed. It's really incredible to see.
Yeah. And I bring this up just to say, like, a lot of people think I always grew up in the church, which I did, but it was, always like, regular Sunday school, like most people are doing. And even when I was teaching, it was like I knew nothing. I mean, I can't, like, I did not know anything. Like Peter and Paul, I didn't know who they were. Like, it was that bad. So when people come to me and say, like, like I'm too scared to serve or I don't know enough, I'm like, only if you knew. Only if you knew. Like, this is like in college. I had no idea.
So what inspired this transition?
So, and this I don't think a lot of people know. So you all would be kind of the first people to hear it. Uh, so when I graduated high school, there was a poet, Nikki Giovanni, and she was talking about having a purpose in this world. And she said, like, her purpose is to be a poet. She's like, I'm a poet before I'm a mother, a daughter, like anything, I'm a poet first. I was like, whoa, that's a little too much. But her whole thing is like, we take from Mother Nature and we don't like kind of give back to this world. So she was like really pressuring us to find out our purpose. Well, that summer of my freshman year, I incorporated a nonprofit, CEO, Children of Ethiopia organization. The F is silent. Children of Ethiopia organization. And this was kind of a nonprofit to collect books and send it back to Ethiopia. And I was starting to become very active in it. I ran for the National Ethiopian Student Association. A lot of people are aware of Ethiopian student associations at local universities. Well, there's a national one, kind of broke apart. Yeah, there was. There were annual conferences for Ethiopian student associations throughout the country, and I was the president of that. I bring all this up to say, near the end of my college career, I was an engineer, and yes, I was getting into the church. I was taking it seriously, but I always thought like my career would be NGOs. I thought it would be nonprofits. I thought it would be helping Ethiopia in terms of like philanthropy and like like giving back and all these things. And I always said service will be at the back end, whatever is left over. And right after I graduated, like I said, I can't do three things. I can't juggle three things. I can't be an engineer, the nonprofit, and service. So something got to give. And I said, service has to give. And I was going to move to Canada because they had a real good nonprofit program there. I started applying for schools. It was going to be like complete different trajectory. And I remember going to Mariam and looking around DC Mariam and saying, oh my gosh, there's nobody here. Like there's literally, and this is right after I graduated, and I was like, oh my
What year is this? Just to kind of give us a little bit of context.
This is 2011.
Okay.
2011. I didn't even think about it. Yeah. All right. So now I got to come up with a joke like later on. So I'm just gonna start working on that now. But so that's kind of how like like I was like, all right, I really got to take the service thing more seriously. So I gave up the nonprofit. Then it was engineering and service, and of course at the end it just became service, and even engineering went away. So yeah, but that was kind of like where my head was at. It started off with this kind of idea of like having a purpose. Then yes, I came to the church and took church more seriously. But I never saw myself like serving in the church. Like I didn't think that the church had a place for me, And shout out to Mehmet Hiskas, who is the first person to say, "Come stand next to me." And I was like, I thought that was illegal, like, yeah. And he had me saying, "What is it, tafasi?" And my hand would be shaking, because like I didn't know what you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And like just the a thought of standing next to them, even my parents was like, "Hey, defrata kono," like when I was like starting to make YouTube videos and stuff like that. Like it was something that it was just not an avenue that I could take, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So people really, now it's like normal and people come up and I'm always like, I'm so glad to see this, but it was literally a new concept that kind of, you know, shout out again to Abba Filipos, Memeriscas, who literally kind of broke that system to allow us to come in.